You are listening to the Two Act Podcast, where we review anime, cinema, and TV. I'm your host, Adi, and as always, I'm joined by.
Jon.
All right. In this episode, we're going to be covering a film called Sorry to Bother You that came out in 2018 and is directed by Boots Riley. So, this film can be best described as, imagine if Spike Jonze and Spike Lee meshed together and made a woke sci-fi comedy. No, I'm just kidding. It is entirely a film created by Boots Riley, who many may not know is actually quite a genius. So just to give you a bit of an intro to the film. In 1991, Boots Riley helped form the Mau Mau Rhythm Collective, which married his love of hip-hop with the communist lust for great political and social change in America. At the same time, in his hometown of Oakland, California, he was creating a fusion of punk, hip-hop, and soul laden with bass-driven backbeats with his band, The Coup. Their first album, released in '93, was named Kill My Landlord, in case you were left in any doubt as to property theft being theft. In 1998, The Coup entered the international collective consciousness with their third record, Steal This Album. By now, as a snazzy dressing, pontificating, and socially conscious frontman, Boots Riley was stealing the headlines. Riley has long held a desire to make movies. His work as a student activist was combined with a love of theater, and as a young teenager, he would write plays, including a version of West Side Story, in which the songs were replaced by rap verse. He graduated high school in 1988, and having watched wide-eyed as Spike Lee redefined African-American film, Riley enrolled in film school. Then, The Coup, his band, happened. It was the band's sixth album, called Sorry to Bother You, in 2012. That served as a very public announcement that Riley wanted to be in the movie directing business. It was the soundtrack to the screenplay that he had been writing for 4 years. When that didn't get Hollywood executives banging down his door, his friend, the novelist Dave Eggers, published the screenplay in his journal, Timothy McSweeney's Quarterly Concern. Sorry to Bother You tells the story of Cassius Cash Green, a broke black man who lives in his basement with his girlfriend Detroit, played by Tessa Thompson, in an imagined version of Oakland. His life changes when he blags his way into a job as a telemarketer, where success comes to him after he finds his inner white voice. Climbing the corporate ladder makes him forget about the travails of his colleagues, where Squeeze, played by Stephen Yeun, is organizing a union to strike for better pay and working conditions. Such pitfalls are no longer a concern for Green, who has made an offer he cannot possibly refuse by corporate boss Steve Lift. But where do Green's loyalties lie? To his bank balance, co-workers, or community? Publishing the screenplay was unorthodox but effective and led to Jordan Peele signing on to play Cash. But before that version of Sorry to Bother You got off the ground, Jordan Peele produced and directed Get Out and quit acting. In stepped Donald Glover, aka Childish Gambino, until he was taken to a galaxy far, far away with a Disney check, and in turn in the recent Star Wars spin-off Solo. The vagaries of capitalism continued to mess with Riley's art. However, the years of financing hell was a boon for actor Lakeith Stanfield, whose 2013 screen debut in Short Term 12 catapulted him to Selma, Straight Outta Compton, and Dope, a memorable turn running from rabbits in Peele's Get Out, and the role of Darius in the TV series Atlanta. Riley had finally found his Cassius, and his screenplay morphed into the most unique debut of the year, an absurdist sci-fi comedy where capitalism creates equisapiens and artists answer with performance art. With that being said, let's go to opening thoughts. So, John, what was your reactions and initial impressions for Sorry to Bother You?
So corporations are evil, corporations, and we should stop them before they all make us horse people. That's my opening thoughts. Spoilers for Sorry to Bother You.
Spoilers for sure. Oh, good that you mentioned
Good
that
call,
because,
right?
geez, if you spoil this movie, you are If you spoil yourself,
Disservice to yourself,
it's
for
a
sure.
big disservice to the film, and you're just missing out on one of the hardest left turn plot twists to come out in recent memory. So, I know a lot of people would talk about this film, particularly for its plot twists in the end, the final 30 minutes. But this is so much more than that. It's a really ambitious storytelling on themes of capitalism, race, and you've got the surreal tone to the film that gives it like this weird dream-like quality, and all of a sudden that gets taken out of the window and it gets weirder and weirder, and to the point where it could nearly be like a tripping out horror film. But
Well,
it
you
was
kind of get a lot of like the surreal stuff when he's doing his telemarketing job, and he like
yeah.
just hops inside wherever he's calling. Like there's like one scene where like two people are intimate on the couch, and he just plops right next to him, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? This is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or he gets like that old lady whose like spouse just died. It's just like,
Oh,
oh,
that was
oh,
cringe.
heart
That was hard.
wrenching.
Yeah. Yeah, those scenes were they literally put him in position in front of the clients he was trying to lure. And it's interesting because, when I first saw the trailer of this film, this was like in 2018. I remember thinking this is going to be like a really smart satirical, you know, like comedy drama on the American dream, and to an extent, it is about like similar to that. I thought, it's kind of like a Wolf of Wall Street type of film where you see a guy start out, make his way up, and then probably get corrupted. But boy, when I watched this, I had no idea how much of a twist it was gonna have, especially midway through the film. It just takes a complete different turn. Um, but I guess we'll go with let's talk about characters. What did you think of Cassius Green, played by none other than Lakeith Stanfield?
I liked him a lot. As a character, you find out right off the bat that he's a really good liar. In fact, like his like first interview, you see him, he's just straight up bullshitting. He's like straight lying through his teeth. He gets that job doing the grossest thing ever.
Yeah.
And he's very likable. Like he's in like a situation that a lot of broke people can understand, living in somebody's garage. And then it's a miracle that he even has a girlfriend.
Yeah, a supportive girlfriend,
Right.
who's
Played
who actually
by
cares for him.
Tessa Thompson, Detroit.
Yep, played who is brilliant. I gotta say, there's like a good ensemble of actors in this that I
Even
recognize.
the white voices.
Oh yeah, the white voice. I guess
David
that is the
Cross.
biggest. Yeah, David Cross and
Patton Oswalt.
Oswalt for Omari Hardwick's character, who is unnamed in the film. We don't know his name.
Blank. Did they
He's
sleep it out
just
every
blank.
time?
It's things like that make it irreverent, and I guess there's like details like that add to its magical realism, and also, I don't know, did you notice the foreshadowing in the first scene where he's having that interview?
Yeah, whenever I saw the big company ads or anything like that, I'm just like, okay, all right, I know it's coming. I know it's coming. We keep talking about Super Walmart and
Yeah.
worry free. I'm just like, oh, that's gonna
It's
come
funny.
back.
Yeah, because the guy who's hiring him, he's like, this is telemarketing. We're not remapping the human genome here. And later they invite him to do just that. Which is,
Yep.
I
Oh
found
yeah,
that to
no,
be,
I guess that kind of slid past me, but
yeah, no, it's interesting. There's loads of details hidden, and I guess it's rich in its production design because it's loaded with like you see where he lives, where he works. His car is just banged up.
it's a
He's
piece of
just trying to
shit.
survive. He's living in his uncle's garage.
Who's played by
His
Terry Crews?
Terry Crews again, another high profile actor who's really
Mm-hmm.
funny in that short role that
He's
he
a
has.
great comedic actor. He's in
Yeah,
Idiocracy. He plays President Gamacho Mountain Dew. It's some of this movie kind of reminded me of Idiocracy, which that was it was either written or directed by Mike Judge, the guy who made Beavis and Butthead, and it's a lot of that dystopian world where everything went to shit.
yeah, I could see that. It's interesting because it's a very it's realistic in what it's trying to say. I know people may call this film like woke as hell,
Oh,
really
it has a lot
preachy.
of symbolism for sure.
Yeah, overt symbolism. And let me tell you, like, I think it's good to see that it's strong in its intent and it's hamming in everything it's trying to talk about. It's not being subtle at all. And that's just accentuated by all this weird shit that happens in the film. And it's interesting because Cassius, he's kind of a passive protagonist. He doesn't. You don't really see much of a progression or growth in terms of his story, but
Mhm.
I think Lakeith Stanfield's performance is super great in terms of grounding the film
Mhm.
amongst the Kafka-esque realism that it has. And most of the supporting characters, I realize they sort of represent ideas as opposed to having like character arcs. For example, like, you've got Stephen Yun's character who kind of is all about the union. He's all about trying to create a rift and bring positive change to the workplace, to Regal View, which is the telemarketing company that they work for. And then you got Detroit, who's like a liberal activist. She's an artist. She cares about.
She's like a straight up like eco terrorist at times.
Yeah. Well, she turns into a much stronger eco terrorist, but
Yeah, she gets progressively upset.
yeah,
And
yeah,
as an artist, she ropes that in there too.
she does. She uses her own rendition of the White Voice as a performance act, which was interesting to see.
I laughed that whole goddamn scene because it was so like posh and so like otherworldly silly. Like art is
I don't think
subjective, but that
I don't even
scene
know.
I just started laughing because it just a reminiscence of like somebody putting a banana on the wall and calling that art. Like it's so like it's deep, but it's not.
That's the thing. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, it's like walking in an art gallery and seeing seeing a garbage can, and you're wondering if it's an actual garbage can.
Or it's just
Like,
an art
it's
installation.
exactly like the whole banana garbage can scenario. So that made me chuckle a lot. I think it has a lot of interesting critiques on like society and the way art is perceived, and I think more than anything, it's also looking at themes of like exploitation amongst races. The fact that Cassius, he struggles to get on with his job and stick to the script because everyone in the workplace is all about sticking to the script. And he's unable to find success and he's desperate for money until he meets a coworker played by
Danny Glover.
Danny Glover.
Yeah.
And he tells him, use your white voice. And he's like, what?
Coaching.
He's like, no, not Will Smith white. I'm talking about white. And then he discovers he's got this ability to put on a performance, and it completely it's a game changer. It makes him super successful. He starts making a lot of money, locking down a lot of clients.
Hey,
and
you can become a power caller if you keep that up.
Interesting, because that's where he meets this other character, which is unnamed. Let's just say Mr. Anonymous.
Yeah,
I wondered why they let that happen. Why would they not name a character? Do you have any ideas why they kept it anonymous?
Maybe
they even bleeped it out.
Maybe they made his name a slur. I don't know. Who knows?
Or maybe he's just, I don't know. He's just such a sellout that
he sold his name.
He's lost his identity and he's given up on his morals.
Yeah, maybe that's like just this could be anybody. This is just a stand-in.
Yeah, because it's like, that's a perfect example of like someone who's a person of color who's abandoned their culture and become just completely embroiled in the corporate world. He's a sellout, and that's the path that Cassius ends up in once he jumps up the ranks and gets promoted as a power caller.
Crazy ass scene like right before it. So they're gonna do like Stephen Yeun's character is like getting like the union starting that, and he wants Cassius to be a part of that, and then they do a phones down, and that's like a really empowering scene. Like I personally was like, fuck yeah, put your fucking phones down, fuck this job,
fuck Regal View. And you can see that's where the first signs of Cassius being hesitant occur. That's him kind of rethinking whether he really wants to be a part of this. And
because
I just think it's fascinating. Like he means well, but I just think like for cash, it's all about the right price. Like
Correct.
he will do whatever for the right price. And it just seems in that situation that getting a job and going up the ranks and becoming a power caller is a bit more prospering than just, helping your coworkers out, trying to fight for work rights, for equal pay. I mean, there's a scene in the film where one of the characters, a new manager at the workplace called Mrs. Debauchery.
Yep. They really hit the nail on the head there.
And he's asking her a question and he's like, do we get paid more? And she's like, no. And I just laugh so hard because, I worked a few jobs where they try to do this thing where they try to make you take on more than you need to in terms of tasks.
They're gonna.
And the first question you'll ask is, do we get paid more for this? And they're like, no. So it was super relatable.
Oh yeah. The union stuff's super relatable too. In America, if you try to start a union and you don't know what you're doing, you probably just get walked out, and that's illegal. But the people that get fired doing that, they don't know that it's illegal. Like when Squeeze did that, I was like, oh, he's so hella fired. Try to do that shit at like There's stories about that all the time. Like the last like 5-10 years.
I was surprised that his character didn't get fired or didn't face any repercussions. In fact, none of them faced any repercussions. They were just constantly protesting the whole film. The co-workers. And
some of them got like beat the shit out of them.
Well, yeah, that was obviously the main thing that happened. I guess the main repercussion, but it's not like they lost their job
No,
yet.
no.
Uh, it reminds me of the scene earlier in the film where Danny Glover's character was like interesting because I have a feeling like him giving Cassius the tip of the white voice kind of indicates that he might have been a Pava caller. Did that thought ever occur to you? And
No.
he even goes in the bar and he's like, I'm too old for this shit.
Well,
Which I think is a
it could
reference to
be.
Lethal Weapons, but
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. There's like a whole thing about like Danny Glover being too old for that shit. Maybe he knew that it was gonna get too crazy. Maybe he's seen shit.
yeah. I mean, he tells them, doesn't he? He's like, they're selling the Holocaust.
Yep.
And on the surface, Regal View just seems like your average scammy telemarketing company, but
Right.
secretly, it's doing a lot more shadier shit
Mhm. Yeah,
than
Regal
it
View
appears
kind of
to.
reminded me of this company that I watched in this documentary, like in the real world. It was called like Telemarketers or something like that, and it had these criminals that were cold calling old people for the Federation of Police. And I was like, no, that's straight up what they're doing. They're scamming, old people and people that aren't very smart with their money, and you're getting sales for Regal View.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
not only are they screwing other people, they're screwing themselves.
there was this line that Stephen Yun had, which I
Mhm.
thought really hit home. He said, if you show people a problem but not a solution, their reaction is going to be to get used to it. I just thought it was amazing and so chilling.
Yeah, the evilest company is Super Walmart, where all the workers are paid to live there, and they get regular meals like the company store. Modern day slavery. Cassius sells his soul.
He does, and they really hammed it in with. They really put a lot of inserts, foreshadowing. You got all these TV adverts with Worry Free as an organization that.
I like the Cribs one. That was awesome.
Yeah. I mean, it gets to a point where even his uncle considers signing a contract because he's facing bankruptcy. He's going to lose his home.
It's funny because like Terry Crews as a person, he's a very money savvy person because he came up being really poor. So a lot of the characters that he plays are characters that are money pinchers. Like so he plays Chris, whatever the comedian guy's name's dad, and he's like 35 cents. You think we got money for that? And then people are putting that guy's picture in their wallet. And they're like, we don't have money for that. That's 5 cents of milk you're spilling. Pretty awesome.
It is. He's underrated in my opinion. Needs to be in a lot more roles than he gets because he's got range. And I thought, even though like we see him only for a few minutes in this film, but he was so good. Like all his scenes were really cool. It had my attention. Like there was not a single moment he was on frame, and I was like, we're just getting through a scene here. So yeah, I really liked his.
Another thing that I was always paying attention to was Tessa Thompson's earrings. Like when they had like
kept
words on them
changing.
and they're like spinning around. I'm like trying to read. I'm like, what the fuck does that say? Die, motherfucker, die.
Yeah, there's so much. I mean, her earrings just had so many
Like a
messages.
guy in a chair getting electrocuted.
Yeah, and it was always changing, wasn't it? I think like every time she was on, it was a different message.
Different
and
message.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed, but there's something about the film that has that repetition of change occurring. Like another thing I noticed was, the picture of Cassius's father that he keeps on his nightstand. Yep. His first was like raised in solidarity and then empowerment at first, and then when Cassius turns his back on his friend, the picture kind of changes, and then the hand is covering his face, and then his head is lowered in disappointment, and then at the end he's got like a big thumbs down.
Yeah, that was great.
That
I did know
those
that.
details,
I like
it just added to it.
yeah, it's satire at its finest. It's straight in line with Idiocracy. Like it's funny. At least I think so. And Cassius finally finds out that money corrupts all.
Yeah,
and he doesn't really pull his head out of his ass until the other shoe drops, in, like the final arc of the movie.
No, it doesn't. In fact, I think like it gets to a point where it's conflicting because like the film shows how money is so good, it can be hard to like overlook the wrongs when you start living a comfortable life, and that's what happens when he gets really big as a power caller and he's moved in a nice new apartment with his girlfriend, and she's conflicted about the whole thing as well. In fact, she quits her job at the Regal View company, and then she's she's kind of in two minds about the way he's treated his friends, and he completely turns his back on them. Like the first instance of him getting the promotion, he's trying to cross the picket line, and they try to ask him like, "What are you doing?" And he just gets super aggressive. And then they have that standoff with his friend where they're just like complimenting each other. I hope you have a good day. I hope you have a good week. I hope you have a good year.
Right.
This came out of nowhere.
His girlfriend breaks up with him over crossing the picket line because he's a scab.
He is unfortunately a scab.
Yeah, and he becomes a meme. He gets a can of Coke thrown at him, and then that lady gets her own show.
Yeah, which just shows how like this is true. By the way, you got activists who have been sellouts.
The Huck Tug lady has like the third most popular podcast of all time. Like memes are real money, apparently.
Yeah, it's a true reflection, because it's like it gets to the point where it's so surreal, but at the same time, it's not too dissimilar to like shit we see every day.
Yeah, we see crazy shit all the time.
Yeah, with fucking TikTok and social media and X and all this sensationalism that occurs. Is always like something happening, and the film, in a way, it's interesting because it creates a world that is unique. I think you can tell Boots Riley does a really good job showing what Oakland is like to him. It's obviously the place he grew up in, and it's the place where majority of this plot takes place. And I liked all the vignettes you got in the film, like even the bit where he's in the bar and he's trying to go into the VIP club, and he gets into the VIP club, and the code's
always the same.
The code's always the same. He gets in, he's uncomfortable, his drink spills on him, he thinks about it, and he's like, "This is not for me." And I thought that was a really clever sort of metaphor in terms of like what's going to happen to him in this film. He's going to get super rich. It's going to get super uncomfortable, and then he's going to realize this is not for me, and it's probably not where I belong. And I thought moments like that, because it gets to a point where there's so much stuff happening tonally. Like, did it bother you that it was inconsistent with its tone? Like, at one point you were like, you're going to watch, a light comedy, and then it turns into like workplace.
I didn't have a problem with that. I was on board for the silly, the crazy, the funny. I wasn't. There was some parts like I'm reading into because it's like some of my beliefs. Everyone should get paid what they're owed, and I'm all on board for that. It's very over the top, very very silly. It comes and goes past the line of satire where it's just realistic, especially in that third act where you blow up. There's like the union stuff I was all on board for. I was like, You go, girl.
Yeah, it gets to the point where I guess that's where he meets. He's Steve Lift, but he's played by Armie Hammer, and he's the owner of the company Worry Free.
He's the CEO.
Turns out Worry Free is secretly a client for Regal View that's been selling them slave labor. Again, very chilling moment. But we got to talk about that whole moment where he basically goes to the party at Armie Hammer's place, and there's like, you got all these weird characters, kind of like an orgy at times.
Yeah.
And,
I love that rap scene.
The rap scene. We got to talk about that rap scene.
It's peak comedy. It's peak comedy. He's just like, no, I can't rap. Not all black people can rap. That's straight up racist. I can't rap. I'm not black, but I can't rap. I know that. When I sing along with rap, I can't keep a flow. I know that. So I feel him when they're doing that. And then he just gets to a point where he's just like, just saying the N-bomb, and all the white people are saying the N-bomb back to him. I'm dying laughing. Because I'm like, no, that's actually what would happen.
It's so realistic. And it's so uncomfortable because it's true. There's people who have certain expectations from black people to say certain words, and you could just sense Cash being like, like, I didn't have to shoot anyone down. I didn't have to I can't rap.
Show me one of your gangster stories about how you had to kill somebody.
It's just so cringe. Like, imagine saying that in 2024.
You get the shit slapped out of you if you're in the wrong room.
And he just goes along with it, and he realizes like he's trying to rap, and he's awful. They're just looking at him blankly, and then he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna say the dumbest shit possible."
M-bomb. Best rap ever.
That whole scene had me in stitches. I was just...
I loved it. It was great. It does not set you for what's to come, though.
Oh, it does not. But I thought it was a nice little dig at most of the new rappers that exist today, compared to rappers of the age of Tupac and all these classics.
The 90s and 80s, the music that
the 90s and the 80s, and now if you exactly, and you listen to the rap of today, and let's not forget Boots Riley. He's a musician, and it's an interesting one because this film was conceived as an album that came out, 7 years before the film was made. So imagine having a soundtrack for a film before the film's even out. I just think that's so unusual. It almost never happens. You never hear a story like that. So to see that and the influence of the music in this, I really liked the soundtrack. I thought it was really quirky, and it just added to the surrealism and the moments of dark comedy. Did you have any thoughts on the soundtrack?
It's a good soundtrack is something like if it's bad, you'll notice it, and if it's good, you might not even notice it at all. So I enjoyed it because I didn't notice it at all. Like it wasn't something I was actively hearing for. I'm more visual in this movie. I'm more looking at it. All the crazy shit that's going on.
I mean, visually, you can't really take your eyes off it, right?
Exactly.
The production design is great.
This is not...
Costume is insane.
Yeah. Not a movie that you could even want to pull out your phone because the pacing's good. You're on for the ride. When his shitbox car pulls out and they're all pushing it, you're still on for the ride. You're like, I know people with cars like that, so I definitely understand that.
Yeah, because some people may feel like, oh, that's just overdoing it, like a car that's just steaming.
No, I've had shit boxes like that.
Those exist. They're very real. Everything that showed how hard of a life he had to live was pretty realistic. Even though this film is high on surrealism, that was one thing it did not miss on. I thought it nailed the working class. It nailed the economic situations of those neighborhoods, and just Cash as a character is representative of that. Like, he is born out of that situation, out of that community, and he needs to find a better life. And that's what leads him to, meeting Armie Hammer's character.
Yep, the CEO of Worry Free.
Who's just, how would you even describe him?
The devil.
America's golden child.
Money has corrupted this guy so much that he can't even see the evil that he's doing.
He's just insane, isn't he?
Inherently, if you make shit tons of money, it's really hard not to do evil things. Yep. Just because you're taking advantage of people. It's really the only way that you become that wealthy.
Exploitation.
Exactly. And then they get to the point where they're changing the DNA in people. And when he discovers those horse people, that was definitely the part of the movie where you're like, what the fuck? Like, the claymation video. He's like, no. Sit down. I got a video for you to watch. And they have like a claymation animation that makes you even go even more like, the fuck? And then Cassius he's like so shook. He's just like, no. And the funny thing is, like, right before that, he made him snort some coke, which he thought was coke. And he's like, no, this is Peruvian cocaine. And they show you in the video that the horse people that are people that their DNA gets changed, they snort like a coke-like substance. So he's even tweaking out even more. And Armie Hammer wants to make him the horse people Martin Luther King that they control.
Yeah,
like
he wants to make him Horse Moses.
Yeah, not Moses. Horse Martin Luther King Jr. For $100 million after for 5 years. And then they said they have an antidote to like redo it. Who knows if they even have that, being at how evil they are.
Oh, who knows? I mean, so much of the up until that point, like, no one expected that turn to come out. No one saw it, and it was freaky as fuck. I loved the practical effects. They used animatronics and, like, puppeted by obvious performers in there at some scenes. I really liked the horse people, Equisapiens, as we call them.
Yeah.
But that bit was interesting. I just laughed so hard at the claymation short film. It was kind of a jibe directed to Michel Gondry. I don't know if you've heard of him. No. He's the guy he's this French filmmaker who's known for like doing really surreal shit and working with stop motion. And Gondry, not Dondry. Got that wrong.
Nobody's.
And he made Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is written by Charlie Kaufman, I guess. Yeah, so he's known for like doing surreal shit, and apparently Boots Riley wanted to kind of homage him, and they had a bit of beef because Gondry didn't want to be involved, so he got pissed off, and Boots Riley then changed the name, because if you pay attention, it's a tiny detail. It says directed by Michel Gondry instead of Gondry, which is kind of a jibe back at him, which is funny. But there's details like that just make the film so much more rich in a second watch. But that whole proposal was insane. Imagine, I mean, do you think there's people who would consider it? Because quite clearly there are some who have, but
I wouldn't, because not that I think souls exist, but I'd like to think that I'm a good enough person that no amount.
Hey, but on the other side, you'll get a.
No, it's not worth it.
You'll get a.
No, I would have fought for that gun, and I would have died in the process, because there's no way that I would have even let that guy live.
That's where it just takes a complete 180 across, and
And then there's the connotations of having horse people and then having them in internment camps because they don't have a will. And then that's where Cassius finally like grows a conscience in the 11th hour when he's
yeah.
reconnects with his girlfriend, and he sees that goofy ass art piece that she did, and just like just when you think the evil corporation, the horse people, will show up at the end of the movie to save the day, and you're like, oh, all right, this is
You see,
weird.
that's where things get interesting because there are apparently a lot of theories about that whole segment where he gets the horse people out, because you never really get to see him breaking them out.
Right. It's hinted on because he gets the code.
So there's basically a theory that he's taken the deal. I don't know if you can interpret it exactly like that, but
I could see that. Yeah, it's kind of left up to your imagination,
because that's why Steve never gets to confront him after the whole rejection, and he's simply thriving off the new success of Worry Free. And that's why in the final stinger of scene, Cassius announces that it is him. So Steve knows that the revolt is under control. Apparently, there's a theory out there that I read somewhere in the dark web. But I wanted to bring it up because it was like, why not? How can they be marketed? Hire someone that will lead them to revolt so governments around the world will see how violent they are. And that's why stock prices jumped. That's why Cash just happened to have the perfect video from a phone he lost. The whole thing was orchestrated to help him do the horse MLK job. I gotta say, like, that whole phone video that he receives, it did feel kind of like stagey.
Yeah, no, that was definitely MacGuffin for sure. It was like, convenient for the plot, maybe.
It was too convenient, but I don't know. That's the one bit that really bothered me, I guess. Even though, look, there's not a lot of logic if you want to break it down.
It is people. Come on.
But that bit, it did get me wondering, like, oh, is there a possibility where he's actually taken it and then grew a conscience and realized, oh shit, this has gone too far? It's possible.
In like the final scene of the movie, you kind of see that he doesn't have a choice.
No, he doesn't. He just turns into
all puff up, and he turns into a horse person. And then he's like, "Fuck it!"
So eerie. It's
uncanny
Get the
ultimate
valley.
Revenge on him. He's like, yeah, it just breaks into his damn house, Armie Hammer's house.
Literally the final scene.
Yeah.
But that it's ending. There's connotations to Muhammad Ali because he was Cassius Clay. It could be named after him, maybe. But there's all these interesting connections to Martin Luther King, Muhammad Ali, and even Malcolm X. So I like that all those were snuck in a way that didn't really come across as too preachy, because you compare. Like, I'm just thinking, like, imagine if Spike Lee made this film, it would be overly preachy,
right?
Compared to this film, which I think has a really distinctive vision. And you could tell, like, Boots Riley probably thought, fuck it, you only get to do this once. I'm going to put in everything I can in this film. Go all out on every department, production design, character, storytelling, surrealism, whatever it is. We're going to just dial it up to the max. And you can tell it very much comes across as a passion project. But I find it refreshing because I've not seen films like these. Like, there's a lot of films about science fiction that have sci-fi elements, but it's hard to see a comedy like this, which is so grounded in what it's trying to say, but at the same time feels so bizarre to watch.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, there are some other movies that I would say that this kind of reminds me of, but in different ways.
What films, if you could name them?
So that Everything Everywhere All at Once kind of reminds me of that film. It's
right.
very surreal.
Yeah, it's got that.
And that one's weird, multi-million-dollar. That's a big money. That one cleaned up at the Oscars, went crazy.
That just, it hit the zeitgeist at the right time, I would say, because it's similar to the film. Like, have you seen Swiss Army Man?
No, what's that one about?
It's similar in terms of like surrealism, where it's the same guys who made Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Got it.
It's about Daniel Radcliffe, who plays a farting corpse that goes on a journey with this other character, and they're trapped in an island, and they're trying to get their way back to civilization. And it's just insane. I can't do justice describing it. It's something you need to watch.
Keep that in mind if I'm.
It's one of those goofy, holy shit! It's so crazy. It's so good type of films. Okay. So it fits in that category of films that are ambitious in practical storytelling, to use surrealism as opposed to films that just rely on purely visual effects. I can't imagine. I think this film was made for a budget of $3 million, and it made over $18 million at the box office.
Good job.
Which is pretty decent, not bad. Definitely not a failure, but it's amazing, isn't it? Does it look like a $3 million film?
Absolutely not. No, it looks like they really used their budget well.
Yeah, one can only imagine. I mean, it was so many years in the making.
Mm-hmm.
You just think that he's got all the right pieces. Like, the cast is amazing. Steven Yeun is great. I'm big fan of Steven Yeun. Terry Crews, we spoke about him being iconic. You got Tessa Thompson, who obviously is blown up now.
You got David Cross, a stand-up comedian, who's
David Cross and Patton Oswalt.
The hell is that show?
Sitcoms.
Yeah.
Arrested Development.
Arrested Development.
Was that? Yep, that's the one.
Patton Oswalt, another stand-up comedian, very well known.
Yeah. He does the white voice for Mr. Unknown. And you've also got Omari Hardwick, who plays Mr. Unknown, and you've got
he kind of reminded me of Michael Key. Just the way, like, his face structure is like he's more like an olive black man. Like, that could have definitely been played by him easily.
Yeah. Now I can't unsee it. Now that you say it. Well, let's not forget that Jordan Peele was originally attached to play Cassius, and Lakeith Stanfield had a breakout year in 2018 because he did this, and he was also in Uncut Gems. And just before that, he was in Get Out. So he had a great period when he made this film. And an actor who didn't have a great period now is Armie Hammer. I know there's like loads of allegations about, it's basically career death. What's occurred to him? I don't know. Are you aware of what happened to him?
I have no idea. Please enlighten me.
Basically, he was accused of like bullying, sexual assault, I think, cannibalism,
what the fuck?
Yeah. Like apparently, one woman who he had a relationship came out and said that, yeah, he told me he wanted to cut out my rib and eat it because he found me so delicious.
Okay, that's whatever.
And
That's he said, she said.
yeah, it never went to trial, basically. But basically, everyone dropped him. His talent agency left him, and he's now. I think he made a video a month ago where he was like selling his truck because he has no money. So it's such an interesting dynamic to see what's happened to all these actors. And
and I think Danny Glover, didn't he recently pass away?
No, he's alive.
Maybe I'm thinking of another elder African American comedian, not comedian, actor.
Nah, Danny Glover is still around.
He's still around. Okay.
Yep, he's still around. But yeah, no, it's. I mean, if I had to say, like, I really thought Armie Hammer's performance was great in the film.
I agree.
He was like fucking terrifying. Like he was that edge that the film needed in the last 30. And I think they did well pacing his character in at that moment because it's at that point you just don't know what to expect.
No,
but
it was your rug got pulled out for sure.
For sure. It's got to be, this film's got to be in there for like crazy plot twists.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But it's more than that. Did you have any other thoughts on performance or?
Let's take a look. No, I don't think I have anything. I think we went over it. I thought it was funny that Cassius has a nice suit. It's like the only nice thing he has.
Oh, when he goes to the first.
Okay, so you see that he's broke as fuck. Like his car is a piece of shit. He lives in a garage, but he has a nice suit. It's like the one thing he has. Maybe it's his dad's suit.
It could be a rental,
or it could be his dad's suit.
Could be his father's. Could be a friend's.
Big thing in like poor families. You inherit your father's suit.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Did you think it was a red flag for the character?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I'm not looking for red flags in this movie. I'm looking for, good comedy, good.
Did you sympathize with Cassius? So did you feel
not
like he was too head up his own ass?
No. I understand. I've been broke. I get it. But I don't think I could sympathize with having to make that decision. It's just you broke with the people you love, It's what you got to do. Let's be broke together rather than I'm rich by myself and miserable.
For sure, I think that is one of the main lessons he learns from this film, albeit as a horseman. Mm-hmm. He was also in BoJack Horseman. So that connection's eerie as well.
Ooh,
I don't know if you watched BoJack.
Oh yeah, I've watched all of it. That show is like misery. The show. Just when you think BoJack didn't completely fuck up everything, as a horseman, he fucks it up even more. That's a good show. I would recommend that.
The parallels between them are eerie, and Lakeith Stanfield's in it. So it was again another nice nod to the meta things in the film that feel weirdly real. But I guess we can go to final thoughts, and if you had any.
Do you want to go first this time?
Sure. Yeah, I don't mind. I think I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. Really liked. Technically, I love how the surrealism amplifies the storytelling here to the point where you kind of feel so uncomfortable at what's happening, but at the same time the critique is so realistic. The problems in the film that are being discussed are done in such a clever way. The concepts of racism, capitalism in America, and you've got, you know, the concepts of like working class people and seeing how money changes people and the evil corporate organizations that are behind everything. It's about the puppets and the puppeteers. I really love that element, and there's something about that message that really stuck with me in this film. And I think I think it's such a layered, nuanced film because it starts off as something that you kind of get familiar, thinking it's going to be a tale on the American dream, but then it just goes completely pure artistic expression, and you don't get to see that a lot. You don't get to see directors who can take that big of a swing. It's funny I say that now with Francis Ford Coppola's, what's it called, Megalopolis, which is currently getting panned everywhere for being too weird and ambitious. But no, this is a good example of a film that actually is very strong in its message, and the cast ensemble is great. The music and the production design are stand out to me. It marries really well with the camera and the shots in the film. But yeah, the plot twist, it just bumps it up for me. It just gives it that edge that makes this film unique and unlike anything I've seen in films that deal with like critiques of society.
Awesome. I agree with a lot what was said. I also give it an 8 out of 10. No surprise. Wild as hell movie. It gets even wilder as you watch it. That continues to get crazier as it goes on. I liked a lot of the humor. I liked a lot of the set design. I liked the costumes, all that good stuff. I liked that it was a great satire. It sometimes, like Idiocracy, it kind of reminds you, is this a documentary? Is this what's already happened? Do you have any other thoughts?
I think you hit it real well. Sorry to Bother You is no, it's a good film. It's definitely worth checking out. Don't get yourself spoiled by reading about it. It's a film that's best experienced in the dark with no other information. You could watch the trailer, I guess, but no, it's a good film. It deserves. I feel it's underrated. It deserves a lot more attention than people give it.
All right, you ready for the recommendation for next time?
Let's do it.
All right. Spooky time's coming up, October. So let's start it off right with a great mystery thriller. We're going to do an anime. It's called Another. And I have a little synopsis written. In Class 3-3, Yomiya North Junior High, a transfer student, Koichi Sabarakibara, makes his return after a sick leave his first month of school. And then there's like a new classmate that's in the class, and you're just like, is she real? Like, all the classmates are telling him not to talk to her, and there's like a sinister truth behind why all of his friends say not to talk to her, and that's the mystery. Ooh. It's a good spooky anime. When I think of like thriller, like horror, mystery stuff, this is
it like Monster Death Note level?
No. It's not that deep though. It's more like spooky ghosts and stuff. Like, it's very
supernatural.
Yeah. Supernatural, spooky. And it wasn't something that would take a crazy amount of time to watch, so I wanted to come up with something spooky. And if you don't want to be spoiled for that, obviously watch Another.
Another.
Mm-hmm.
We will see you for Another in our next episode.
Awesome. See you, Space Cowboy.